just to reframe, I believe sequester is coming to a close. It's tomorrow, and there's going to be a big meeting. We'll talk about that tomorrow. And we do know that the president has talked in the past about closing campgrounds, no longer be able to open up parks. We talked about hundreds of teachers, thousands of teachers are going to get pink slips. Thousands of border agents that are no longer going to be able to patrol the border.
What about meat?
You can't inspect the meat. It's going to be impossible.
Here's some straight talk on this sequester crap.
24 hours to inspect meat. They're working like crazy to get your flank steak. Meanwhile, the president yesterday realizes we're coming to a deadline, and there's a chance I've overstated a little bit. Read between the lines.
Unless your business is directly related to the Defense Department, unless you live in a town that is directly impacted by a military installation, unless you're a family that now is trying to figure out where to keep your kids during the day because you just lost a Head Start slot, a lot of people may not notice the full impact of this sequester. But this is going to be a big hit on the economy.
The headline here, folks, is the president's strategy did not work. I mean, the strategy all along here was to push Republicans back into the corner like he did at the end of the year with regard to the debt ceiling and having to raise taxes. He was going to try that approach again because every poll up until that point said, yep, people were on his side. But that didn't work this time. He expected probably the Republicans to budge because of public image and leading into the midterm elections coming up, just a few 18, 19, 20 months away from now. But it didn't work. So now he has to backtrack on his strategy. Why? Because come Friday or Saturday, if suddenly the world didn't fall apart, his credibility would fall apart.
Like the Mayans.
Exactly.
I don't believe them at all anymore.
Plus, the White House was caught in a couple of lies. Arnie Duncan, the Secretary of Education, on one of the Face the Nation on Sunday, it said, yeah, the teachers, the pink slips are already coming out.
40,000.
Yeah, where? There's a place in West Virginia. Well, they checked. There are some pink slips going out, but it has to do with state law, and it's unrelated. And then yesterday, Arnie Duncan doubled down, and he was talking about, a lot of poor kids and a lot of challenged kids are going to wind up with less care. Well, as it turns out, the funding for those programs are forward funded. In other words, all that stuff actually would happen next year. So the White House has been caught in some lies because they have really, over the last couple of weeks, scared the living daylights out of people. Listen to this.
In a few days, Congress might allow a series of immediate, painful, arbitrary budget cuts to take place, known in Washington as the sequester.
Now, if Congress allows this meat cleaver approach to take place, it will jeopardize our military readiness. It will eviscerate job-creating investments in education and energy and medical research.
Early education, like Head Start and Early Start, would be eliminated for nearly 1,000 children.
Border Patrol agents will see their hours reduced. FBI agents will be furloughed. Federal prosecutors will have to close cases and let criminals go.
Air traffic controllers and airport security cutbacks. And that
Which means more delays at airports across the country.
Tens of thousands of parents will have to scramble to find childcare for their kids. Hundreds of thousands of Americans will lose access to primary care and preventive care, like flu vaccinations and cancer screenings. So these cuts are wrong. They're not smart.
They are not fair. They will hurt our economy.
They're a self-inflicted wound that doesn't have to happen.
So after all of that...
I'm scared to death, by the way.
Then last night he goes, maybe you're not going to notice it. Well, we noticed that.
Yeah, quick turnaround. One thing, though, that they're still going to go forward with is this meeting tomorrow. Now, you may ask, why would the president wait until the last day of this impending crisis if it was so incredibly bad to actually meet with some of the top Republicans and Democrats on Capitol Hill? There's the list of the people who will be at this meeting tomorrow. John Boehner, Speaker of the House, Harry Reid, Senate Majority Leader, Mitch McConnell, and Nancy Pelosi, of course. But what is the point of this meeting tomorrow? Because it is the deadline. What are they going to get done in this meeting?
Well,
some people are saying it could just be a photo opportunity to once again, the president's very good at messaging, to put out to the American people, hey, I tried. I had a meeting with these particular top-level people, and nothing came of it.
I have a hunch. Number one, John Boehner's on the record saying that I'm going to do a listening. This is going to be a listening meeting for me. I think the president's going to walk over and say, here we go. There's your delay for 2 months, and then we're going to here's an idea going forward for the next 2 months to delay all these cuts from taking place. Therefore, if you don't accept this piece of paper, you are truly the bad guys.
Well, the Washington Post says today that what the president is going to ask Republicans, they're very clear about it, he's going to ask them, what one tax break would you give up? We'll turn the whole thing off. Just give up one thing. But, of course, the White House has made that clear that they want more revenue tax hikes, and the Republicans have made it clear. Absolutely not. You already got it.
I think one thing that really changed this whole thing this week, though, was Bob Woodward. He is not known as a conservative, and he, of course, had written in his most recent book that this sequester idea was all the president's and his administration. That initially started this discussion, but it wasn't really covered that much. Well, now Woodward himself has come out and been very critical of the administration and the way that they have handled this. And he's faced a lot of blowback from the administration. He says he was yelled at by a senior level person within the administration for 30 minutes, and then it came to the point where he actually thought he was threatened.
He said, you're focusing on a few specific trees that gives a very wrong impression of the forest. But perhaps we will just not see eye to eye here. He says, I think you will regret staking out that claim.
So that was the Gene Sperling we now know that told him off of the threat. And just to forensically to put this together, Bob Woodward, when he saw that the sequester was being blamed on Congress, he went back and checked his notes, and I imagine a recording for his book, and he said, wait a second, it was the president that did that, and it was the president's idea, Jack Lew's idea. The White House came up with this idea. And number two, the White House also said this is all about spending cuts. It was not about revenues, so they moved the goalpost. So Friday, he's going to write this column, and he called the White House and said, listen, I'm writing this column. And he got screamed at for 30 minutes, at which time he wrote the column, and it comes out, and then he finds out later that he has somewhat been threatened. But then, are they that confident in the White House that Bob Woodward's not writing this down and will not hop behind in front of a television and say, you gotta be kidding.
This White House is one of the most thin-skinned White Houses ever. And
There's your White House.
They're getting some blowback because, wait a minute, this is Bob Woodward. Bob Woodward is one of the lions of journalism. He doesn't make stuff up. If he says that the White House has moved the goalpost, they've moved the goalpost.
But this is deeper, I think, than thin-skinned, to continue the analogy. This is a lot deeper than just being thin-skinned. This is now Bob Woodward on a rampage. I mean, he's continued on saying, Ronald Reagan wouldn't have done these kind of threats and creating Armageddon like President Obama has this particular week. He said George Bush would not have done that. It's very interesting. I think this has changed the entire equation.
So David Plouffe tweeted this out. Listen to this.